Hello friends, it's Carla back today with day 2 of the awesome May 2020 new release from Kraftin Kimmie Stamps. Today we are showing you the floral stamp we have, which is called Perfect Peony. It's a beautiful peony stamp and it has a lovely sentiment with it. Again, quickly, here are our other new release items that we have out. Beautiful new yellow ink, and that's how it compares to our inks in the shop. We've got some new crafty dots. We've got 2 new stencils, and you can go back to day 1 if you want to see those in a little more detail. These are both amazing stencils that are going to be so fun to use. And here's the Perfect Peony Stamp Set, and I can't wait to use this. It's so beautiful and it's just a really gorgeous flower image. Nice for so many things, whether it's birthdays or Mother's Day or thinking of you. So I'm just stamping it with some Wicked Black ink from Kraftin Kimmie, which is hybrid ink and safe for Copics and watercolors and colored pencils, and I'm stamping it on some 110-pound Recollections cardstock here. So I thought today I would show you how I made the card that I made using the Perfect Peony Stamp Set. And I used some white embossing powder and some Versamark ink, and I inked the stamp over a background of Bristol cardstock, and I grabbed some Zig clean color brush markers. I only end up using one of those ones that I had chosen, and I want to use some opal polish and gilded apricot. So you can see there that I had grabbed a color chart from Pinterest just to get a good idea of what might go with that apricot color. And I'm starting off by wetting the background of the stamp that I embossed, and I'm scribbling off to the side on a craft mat with the marker that I want to use. These are the Zig Clean Color Real Brush markers, and it just gives a softer watercolor look, and they blend really nicely over the Bristol. This way, if you ever have trouble blending on a background, this is a really easy way. Pick it up with the water brush and start blending. So I wet those background petals first, and this just really helped the ink to flow over those areas, and the embossing keeps it in a little well. Now I'm just going over some of the areas that I want to add a little bit of shading to, and I'm adding another layer of that pen ink. Now I grabbed a different blue than I had originally. This one's peacock blue. It was a little bit darker. And now I'm going in and just adding my shading around the edges, and then I'll blend it out. So I'm watering it down a little bit so that I don't have really harsh lines, and I can soften it up because you can always go back and add more. And I just start from the center and work out, and just adding some shading in where those petals might overlap. I'm not overthinking it too much. I'm just really adding some dabs of color here and there. And I think you probably could have even just left it with that original color as a very soft blue, but you can see what a nice effect this has, just adding that second color, a few darker areas, and some blending with the water brush. And I decided to add a little bit of orange in the center here. So I'm just scribbling that onto the craft mat, and any of the image in the center that was stamped is going to act as a resist, so I can wipe over the embossing powder and the orange just goes into the little cracks that were below. I'm adding a mask, so I stamped it on some scrap paper, and I'm just going to stick it on to my background here to cover up the flower so that I can do some inking. And I'm using the Sparkling Sapphire ink. This is our ink of the month, and it's 15% off. It's a really beautiful blue. And how I'm starting is I'm dipping my brush onto the ink pad, and then I'm slowly bringing it out. So I think the key to this is to start either off your paper or start on your mat, so you have those darker areas on your mat, and then you can see what a lovely blend you get. And I just kind of softly blended it up to the top of the card base. And now I'm using a little bit of washi tape to add the stencil onto the top of the card base, and I'm going to add this really pretty opal polish. This has a really neat gold effect, and I started by using the sponge on top, but I felt like I wanted to move to a brush just to really get into those grooves. So just by dipping the brush in and then smushing it a little bit on the craft mat so I didn't have any big chunks of the paste, I get a really nice soft shiny effect under that stencil. And then you can see how beautiful that is, and it really reflects beautifully in the light. And this looks wonderful on dark cardstock, so I decided to use a piece of black cardstock and just quickly take the sponge and go around the edge, and it looks like a really beautiful gold when it's on that black cardstock. There's a lot of nice things you can do with these polishes. So I'm going to glue on my black card base onto a A2 size card there, and then I've got a piece of fun foam. I actually bought a package of it, and this is great especially if you have a large area that you want to pop up. I just cut it a little bit smaller than that top card area, and I'm gluing it on with some art glitter glue, and then I'm going to apply that right onto the top, and I'll link in the description below where you can find that polish. That's from Scrap Shots, and then I'll also link the blog post where you can see the close-ups of the Kraftin Kimmie stamps. The release party is going to happen on Saturday, and you'll be able to pick up the stamps from the shop, and you can find all the party details on my blog post. So I've stamped the sentiment with that sapphire ink, and I'm adding it onto a piece of vellum and then gluing that onto the background. And I find using the liquid glue, you really don't notice the glue marks behind the vellum. And then I'm just adding some of our new crafty dots onto the top there, and we've got a beautiful sparkly card. So I hoped you like having a look at how quickly that was watercolored and how easy that is to do. And I hope you'll check out the Kraftin Kimmie Stamps Friends group on Facebook for lots of other ideas from all the other design team members. Have a great day. I'd love for you to like and subscribe, and thanks so much for stopping by.